And to talk more about the National Sports Governance Bill, joining us are, of course, three faces of Indian sport. With us is Gagan Narang, Olympic medalist, and, of course, the IOA Vice President. With us is Sharat Kamal, who's a former Indian table tennis player and Olympian. Also with us is Anju Mudgal, who is an Olympian and Arjuna awardee. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us on this very important bill. Gagan, let me begin with you. It is being seen as a landmark development because it's going to be an umbrella bill that's going to cover all sports and how they are governed in India. How do you really see this happening? Is this centralized approach? Some of the critics say that it could lead to perhaps more bureaucratic red tape, or do you feel that will actually ease governance and ensure better sports governance in India? Gagan.
Well, I think a fantastic effort and a fantastic bill that has been put forward. And mind you, and let me remind you that it's been put forward by the government after extensive deliberations with the stakeholders. And this bill is not about control. I feel this bill is about care, and the government respects the autonomy in this bill, but ensures that ethics, fairness, accountability, and there's a clear balance between freedom and responsibility. So, fantastic bill, and looking forward to some good times for Indian sport.
All right. Sharat, what do you see as the impact of this bill? Now, there's a lot of, athlete-centric approach that we're talking about, not just in representation as far as the national sports federations are concerned, but also other aspects. Do you think that it will be an athlete or a sports person forward bill, a forward approach from here on?
Yes, very much. I think it's also in accordance to the International Olympic Charter also, where sports policies or the governance and the complete sporting fraternity is athlete-centric, and the voices of the athletes are heard, represented very well around here. So I think very importantly, the kind of structure that's going to come in, especially with two sports persons of outstanding merit coming into the executive committee or the executive board, plus another two more of the athlete commission members coming in, will be able to make policies and help the other colleagues, other athletes who are playing actively, and trying to build a cohesive ecosystem for all athletes here.
Right. Anjum, how do you see this impacting? Because, there's been, a lot of reportage. Ever since I've been a journalist for over the last 2 decades, there are all sorts of complaints, whether it was infrastructure, misgovernance, misplaced priorities, corruption. There's been all sorts of complaints. And I'm not talking about any one particular discipline, but this has been something that we've seen as far as all our sports managements are concerned, our various federations are concerned. Do you think that with bringing in RTI, bringing in more transparency, all that is set to change? And are you looking at or are you hoping for a far more professional management of our various sporting bodies? Anju.
Hi. I hope I was not really clear with your question because I can't hear you properly. I can hear the other panelists, but I am also
very transparency and better governance.
All right. Yeah. So, even I went through the policy, and I'm really happy that, this bill has been passed, and, it will surely bring in a lot of positive changes in the sports industry. And, the major thing is, getting the 30% gender equality, gender representation in the, executive committees and governing bodies, because I feel as a woman and as having that equality is really important at all the levels in sports. So I'm sure if, there is this type of equality happening today, it's 30%, it might, increase to 50-50. And then there will be a lot of transparency. And I'm sure, no matter what the gender, it's so important to have the right people at the administrative top levels to make that impact at the global level. And I think this is the first time a bill has been passed. And I'm sure there are so many issues that happen in sports industry, which will really be having a very strong structure now. So I'm very glad with this.
Right. Gagan, one of the things, one of the features that we've been seeing is that, there are hundreds of cases that various sporting bodies have, people fighting amongst each other, all sorts of things that we see. Now, with this one particular body that is expected to come in, a sports tribunal that will be headed by a Supreme Court judge, do you think that will ease a lot of the legal, tangles that sports bodies often end up getting stuck in? We know what happened with BCCI a few years ago, for instance. Just to take an example, do you think that is something that will be now a little more streamlined and a little more smoothened with the new setup?
Absolutely. I think disputes will not derail careers anymore. This doesn't apply to just sports bodies, but also sports persons, because the athletes don't have to go to court. I mean, they now get a fast track, fair, sports specific dispute resolution, along with all the various other governance issues that will be addressed through this National Sports Tribunal. And you must understand that transparency is not an option anymore. It is a necessity because it covers the federations under the RTI Act. So, I mean, all this increases credibility for our federations, credibility for our sportsmen, back them up, and eventually it will end up in promotion of sport, because sponsors would like to come in, support the sport which has good governance frameworks in place, and the sport is only going to grow from there.
Right. And, that's very, very important that you mentioned. But, Sharad, there are those who will come out and say, what about those sports that are not covered by the government? Should they necessarily be under RTI as well? What is your view on this? Because at the moment, the bill envisages all sporting bodies being covered under RTI, at least for their governance purposes.
Yeah, I think all sports should be under one umbrella. Doesn't matter big sports, small sports, so I think it's pretty important to have the policy looking at all sports equally, and at the same time, all of us have as the equal roles and responsibilities also as the national sports federations, or percolating it down to all the administrators, all the all the athletes. Everybody clearly with this sports policy will be able to define the roles and responsibilities, what each one has to do, and how we can all march ahead into making India a strong sporting nation.
Absolutely, and that was going to be my next question. Anjum, I want you to come in on this, because India has been doing well as far as our various performances at different international events are concerned. But as far as our own Olympic dreams are concerned, how far does having this kind of a legal framework become a bedrock for actually India's own Olympic dreams materializing in the future?
I think this is a major step that has been taken, which will surely work in favor of Indian athletes and Indian, sporting fraternity. And like we are eyeing to have the 2036 Olympics in India, and I'm sure, having such a strong structure. And also, I've just read that, India is amongst the top nations now to have a sports bill. So this will, make India stand out as a very strong nation legally as well, not only in terms of the athletes. And this will also, help athletes to come forward and, speak up if there is an issue. And also this would result in many more better performances at the Olympics and the international levels.
Right. Gagan, I want you to come in on this. What's the global experience when it comes to such laws and having authorities which are independent of the government, independent regulators, as is envisaged in this case? Can you cite other countries and what really the precedent is and has been experienced in other parts of the world?
Well, I think good governance practices have been popularized and decimated across all other developed sporting nations. And I think ours is no different. I think this is our moment, and this bill is the platform. And as India aims and has 2036 dreams, this bill builds the governance muscle to match our sporting talent. And that's what's important.
Right. I want you to come in on this, Sharad. What is your view on this in terms of how India now, in terms of the global stage, really will feature as one of those countries which has the kind of laws, the kind of infrastructure, at least legally speaking, which can match with the best in the world?
I think when you look at it, most of the strong sporting nations have something like this. Let it be USA, France, Germany, or the Asian countries like China, Japan. All of them have such strong governance because of these kind of bills or constitutions that's being built around them, and that actually helps nurture talent. So many times what happens is when there's bad governance, the loss is for the athlete. Doesn't matter if there are two people fighting, two federations fighting, or three of them not working together. The loss is always for the athlete because he's going to lose his chance to represent the country, or probably he or her is going to lose a chance to get a job or a university certificate or anything of that sort. So I think all of that will just be buried now, and hopefully the athlete is taken care very well with these policies.
Right. One of the things I find very interesting, Anjum, in the bill, I don't know if you've seen the bill, but this is 35(2). I'm reading out of the bill. It says the central government may, by an order, impose reasonable restrictions on the participation of any national team of a concerned sport in international sports competitions or participation of any individual in the activities of the national sports under extraordinary circumstances and in the interest of national security, public order and safety. And this is coming at a time where there is an open debate about whether India should be playing with Pakistan, so on and so forth. Do you think this is a very important provision that will set at rest and, make it very clear what India's position will be, because it specifically talks about the interest of national security, public order and safety?
Yes, I think we have recently experienced this as a nation, how fragile everything gets when there are some, security concerns happening with other nations. And, recently we had this competition which Neeraj organized, and there were, there were talks happening that should we invite the athletes from other nations or not if there is some issue. So I think somewhere having a laid down policy or a bill would really clear cut give an idea about what to do and what not to do. So there's no negative talks, around it. And I feel sports, as far as it's far from all the negative politics, it's the best thing that can happen to a nation and to all the athletes. So, I think it's a really good step in favor of the nation's security and in favor of the sports.
I certainly agree with you. Of course, when India wins on any international platform, it's a moment for all Indians to be proud of, whatever be the discipline. But Gagan, your views on this, because there are some who would say that perhaps already it is the center that decides. This is just a formalizing of it. How do you look at this aspect, Gagan?
Well, matters of national security are paramount. And as far as participation is concerned, I think we should leave that off the field, and sportsmen and sporting tournaments should take precedence. And I think the athletes should put their best foot forward irrespective of who's coming in, who's not. I mean, when we go to the field, we never think who's coming in, who's not. We just want to go out there and perform our best. So it's best that the athlete keep politics out. But like I said, matters of national security are always paramount.
Absolutely. Sharad, your views on this?
Well, I think, again, most of the time, there are many different laws, many different rules that have been laid down. But very specifically, this one is noted out. But again, there's a lot of objective here, where it says only under exceptional circumstances. So I don't think it will be so much of a matter, because generally, I think the teams are, selected, and the ACTC is done. The ministry supports these tours, and many times the tours, the team goes as requested by the federations.
Right.
So for me, again, sport brings about that unity there.
Absolutely. One of the things that's often spoken about in terms of Indian sports is the huge role that political parties and politicians have to play in this. Anjum, do you think that this changes a lot of that? Or do you think that will ever change as far as Indian sports is concerned?
Yes, somewhere I feel the law is above all of the things that happen in politics. And I'm sure, and I'm very much I believe in this bill, and I'm sure it will work in favor of the in favor of the betterment of sports. And I hope the politics, like you said, ki politics effect say sports effect hoti hai, wo na ho with this bill.
Right. Gagan, you've seen both ends of this as a sports administrator, as somebody who's involved in the sports as an athlete as well, and how times have really changed. Do you think that this bill will change what we've seen or the experience of the past several decades, where politicians have had a huge say over the way in which our sports are managed, and some would say that may have benefited certain sports, but it has also, had a negative impact on the administration as far as certain sports are concerned. Your views on this, Gagan?
See, what I have realized in my career, which has spanned about 3 decades, it's not about who's sitting in the driver's seat. It can be a politician, it can be a businessman, it can be an athlete. It's about a non-performing person sitting in the driver's seat.
True.
Having said that, I think there are so many federations that are doing a fantastic job, from shooting to athletics to so many others that are doing a fantastic job. I think the federations which are not in the limelight at this point of time should take a leaf from these performing federations to have good governance structures in place and so on and so forth. And eventually this will build confidence and trust of the parents who would send their athletes out onto the field. When you have a safe sport policy, the parent knows that, children, minor, women are all going to be taken care of. It's a safe environment to send them. And it's a part of good governance as well. So I think these reforms are necessary. It's the need of the hour because India is becoming a sports playing nation from a sports watching nation now.
Right. What is the impact that you foresee in that sense, Sharad? Do you see the more parents sending their children into sports as a result of such policies which ensure stability, which ensure there is certain amount of accountability?
Yes, very much. And what we keep saying also is how to make India a sporting nation is when sport becomes a way of life for every citizen of the country. I think this gives a lot of confidence. This bill gives a lot of confidence to all the parents, to all the players, that yes, if I'm able to get out there and perform my best, I will get what is due for my performance. So I think that clarity is very clearly given in the bill, and I hope we will have more and more younger generation kids taking up multiple sports, and hopefully that will be the main building block for us to win an Olympic medal in 2036.
Right. I just want to come back to Gagan on one point. One of the things that Gagan has often spoken about is whether there are bodies like IOA or others, whether there will be a threat to their autonomy with this new bill. Where do you stand on this?
Well, like I said, I think there is enough flexibility in this bill to understand that there is very little control but more care. And I think with this bill coming in, the Ethics Commission and so on and so forth have been given to the respective federations to build. And there is a lot of relaxation procedures put in place for various eventualities that occur over a period of time. So it's a very forward-looking bill. And I think it's time that India needs something like this because, like I said, it's on the cusp of creating Indian sporting history.
Absolutely. And Anjum, I want you to come in on the aspect that, this is not something that caters only to elite sports. Do you feel that this also will make an impact on the grassroots, not just in terms of parents coming in, but also, across a large swath, across a cross-section of India, different states, at the grassroots level, really promoting sports? How does that work and how does this bill impact that?
Yes, I think, Joe, what Gagan Bhaiya said, the safe play policy would really help at the grassroots level more, I feel, because, there are so many instances we listen and, people share with us where there are some issues why kids do not want to play a sport, or, if there is any harassment happening or anything that happens actually at the grassroots level, much more than at the elite level. And, the parents would feel safe, the athlete would feel safe. So once you have given parents and kids environment where they are heard, and if there is something not going okay, there is proper implementation of the rules and the proper action has been taken. I feel when people see this, that's how the mindset changes, and you see more people coming in, then you can nurture the talent, and then eventually we get better and more athletes.
All right. Anjum Modgil, Sharad Kamal, as well as Gagan Narang, I'd like to thank all three of you for joining us on Times Now and breaking down what this bill means to sportspersons and why people are looking eagerly at the bill and its impact on our entire sporting fraternity and sporting world. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.